Hello, everyone. David Carley with davidcarley.com, CEO of Great Ledge Technologies. I am honored to be joined by Miss Rebecca McKee, a friend and colleague and a pretty important person in the sports world. So Rebecca is a world-class triathlete, and congratulations, actually, if you could tell the world a little bit, Rebecca, about your recent victory. Tremendous accomplishment.
Well, I just recently won Ironman Arizona, the 40 to 49 age group, back in November. And that came on the heels of finishing 8th in the world at the Ironman World Championships in Kona in October. And it's just been a fantastic year. I'm definitely on cloud 9 and definitely over the moon. It's just been a really big accomplishment. To win a Ironman championship is pretty exciting.
And we're certainly very, very proud of you for those accomplishments. And obviously, you can speak as an authority. So Rebecca is also, in addition to her efforts as a professional triathlete, she's the owner of the Peak Center for Human Performance in Anchorage, Alaska, which has some very unique resources. Tell us a little bit about Peak Performance, Rebecca.
Well, I will do that real quickly, but I will say that I'm considered an elite. Professional athletes, fortunately for them, get paid. I don't get paid. So I'm not a professional, but I definitely try to play one on TV. As for the Peak Center, it's a lab that we have here up in Anchorage. We do metabolic testing, VO2 max testing, lactate analysis. We do testing for a lot of different types of sports, testing protocols like NHL protocols for football, soccer. I specifically coach triathlons, swimming, biking, running. We work with weight management individuals. We work with coaches who bring athletes that have issues or have problems, nutrition problems, rehab. I do a lot of, as you well know, rehabilitative work with a lot of different athletes with injuries that are very common to, wow, never heard of that before, we better figure it out.
Yeah. So, in working with that population, obviously you see the unique challenges that endurance athletes and other types of athletes face. And so Rebecca has been treated with cell therapies in the past and here at our office. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about your experience and kind of your view of how these new therapies fit into the paradigm of the training athlete. And we all know that's going to be accompanied by injuries and speed bumps along the way.
Well, you're definitely right about that. Unfortunately, the thing that kind of goes along with sport is injury. And it can be as simple as overuse injury or something that just isn't, planned, like one of my injuries that landed me in your guys' office. I hit a hose on my bike and ended up tearing the labrum in my shoulder. But the first place that I started to become exposed to stem cell was I injured myself in late 2014, in December of 2014. And I was referred to the Steadman Clinic to fill upon there. And the solution was to cut me open. It was a 18-month recovery and a very expensive procedure I did not want to go through. And from there, I started trying to determine alternate ways and had to do a lot of research, a lot of studying, had to find a lot of information on my own. It was a frustrating road. And I finally came full circle back to finding you guys back at Steadman. And so it was kind of an interesting journey, but along the way, kind of became a little bit of a self-professed expert on what was going on out there and trying to get through all the information.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit before about this, but one of the biggest challenges we hear from patients who I kind of view as consumers, right? This is an investment, right? This is not something that's covered by insurance necessarily. So you really have to do your homework. Tell us a little bit about how you want to into your diligence and looking at doctors and looking at different types of procedures and where patients can go. Instead of hearing it from me, I'd love for them to hear it from you.
Well, I spent a lot of time researching on PubMed.gov, which is a free website that offers research papers on everything under the sun that's pretty much ever been published. And I paid for a couple of subscriptions to some other sites, but that's the really good one that also offers a lot of what I call layman terms information. Like there's always an abstract, there's always a way to read it and understand it a little bit before you get into the really hardcore medical side of the paper, and just started to learn. And then from those, you know, continuing to search the internet and learning about things. And then I started finding individuals that were doing this procedure in different places around the world, not just in the United States, but mainly in the United States, because that's where I was going to go to have it done. And I found a lot of individuals that knew less than me, which concerned me. And when I finally landed on you guys, realized that this was kind of the source of where this stuff was coming from, and kind of wish that I had been able to start there. But I think the journey going full circle really taught me a lot.
And what, you know, what were, and you know, I don't want you to speak necessarily to me, but more in generalities, you know, what were the important things that were, that influenced your decision, you know, to come see me? What were you looking for in your doctor? What were you looking for in the program? What were you looking for in terms of what they were telling you?
Well, the biggest thing was getting back to my sport. Every single individual that I'd spoken with prior to your office, prior to finding Tim, was this, I don't know, this overall sense of, I felt like they didn't have a grasp on what they were doing, and I felt like they couldn't give me information as to how to get back to my sport after the procedure. And although nobody will guarantee anything, there just wasn't a process to it. When I contacted you guys, there was a process. I was given a lot of hope and a lot of information about how to get back to my sport and to do it quickly. And also, a lot of people aren't actually doing the bone marrow. They're saying one thing and they're projecting it that that's what's going on. But then when you start to talk to them, it's just the PRP, which is effective, but not the same. Yeah. And so after talking to you guys and realizing it was the procedure that I wanted, that was really what started me on that path.
And, you know, you've made a career out of working people through injury and working around injury, maintaining human performance or improving human performance. And one of the things we both recognize is how important the post-procedure rehab process and protocol is. Unfortunately, from our end, that process has not been clearly defined. And I know you've been working on specific strategies, starting with you as a test case, but also since that time, many clients and patients we've shared in common. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on rehab after regenerative therapies.
Well, I literally flew down to Denver the 30th of December on 2015. You guys saw me the 31st, and I flew home that night. And I wouldn't really necessarily recommend doing that. And I don't have any of the individuals that I send down your way do that. In fact, I think I kind of did some number crunching, and I'm close to like 60 people that I've actually sent your way that have had these processes done. And the majority of those I actually help rehab. And what I learned through the process was there wasn't a process. There wasn't a protocol to how to rehab this. And being a type A and being someone that likes to be on a schedule and understand what's going on and be able to, you know, get to milestones in the recovery, I realized the importance of needing some kind of process and develop the protocol. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, I injured myself again, unfortunately, hitting a hose on my bike, and ended up tearing the labrum in my shoulder, and came down and saw you for that as well. And just interestingly to note, I had that done in June, and I raced in a world championships in September in Australia, and turned around and raced in the world championships in Kona in October. And that's how amazing this medicine is. So I want to throw that out there. But just to come back to the rehab side, what I found the second time through was that there are processes and things that happen with this procedure every single time. And then working with so many people that have had it done now, there are these little stages that we can use as markers as to, hey, this is going to happen probably in about 7 to 10 days. This is going to happen in about 2 weeks. Here's where you're going to be. And that's what I've been doing. But also each person's injury is very unique to them. And so you have to be flexible in laying it out for them as well, and how fast you can get back to your sport.
Yeah, and you made an interesting point earlier when we were talking that, with the surgery, you have an incision that needs to heal. You have bruising that fades away over time. You have swelling that goes down. This is a little different. This is an injectable implantation, and you can't feel a lot of those stages. So we really rely on someone's expertise to help guide through the process.
Right. And up until the point that I'd had this done, I couldn't find anybody that that had the background in sport and had the background with rehab and understood the body well enough to really get to a point to like, well, what do I do now? And as we discussed a little bit earlier, there's that process too of you feel better really quickly with this. 3 to 4 days in, you feel better. And it's hard not to think to yourself, I'm better. I'm going to run out and get on my bike. I'm going to go running. I haven't felt this good in so long. And it's deceptive and it's tricky because the process is internal and you don't know where you're at in it. And you have to give the cells time to stick and to adapt and do all the things that they're supposed to be doing. And it's very hard when you start to feel better so quickly.
So obviously you've been through this process multiple times with your clients who we've shared in common. What are some of the mistakes that you see people make or pitfalls, or, if someone's receiving a treatment somewhere else that they might be able to avoid or learn from what you've experienced and developed?
Absolutely, about what we just said in regards to it being tricky, because you feel better. If, there's some kind of itis, bursitis, tendonitis, arthritis, whatever, in most joints by the time you get to the point of having this procedure done. And that ache is always there. It's constant. And within 2 to 3 days, it's gone. And I always have said that just the fact that my hip stopped aching, maybe it would never be healed, but the fact that it stopped aching was enough for me to come see you. And so I think that people get a false sense of like an antibiotic. I went in, I took these antibiotics, and 5 days later, I'm ready to go. I'm not sick anymore. And it doesn't work that way. There's the different phases of when you break your arm, the bone, the sticky phase, and the phase where it needs to set, and all these different phases of this process. But like we discussed, and like you brought up, there's nothing external. So in your mind, you don't have those markers. And there are little markers that do happen along the way, but you have to have patience to get to them and not re-injure yourself or have this false sense of I'm healed overnight from this.
Right. Good advice. And one of the things I love about what you guys are doing in Alaska, Rebecca, is you're trying to objectify your decision making, like we're trying to do here medically with regards to your training, and that is using measurements like VO2 max to make a target heart rate recommendation, or using body composition or nutritional assessment or other types of metrics that you're running. I think one of the key points, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is we've already mentioned the cell implant and the rehab, but there's nutrition, there's hydration, there's all kinds of other things which factor into recovery. And I'm sure you have some ideas on, kind of optimizing that platform.
I absolutely agree with you on this. Nutrition, how you go about reintroducing yourself to your sport. I also have a huge fundamental base belief in dry needling. I believe in massage therapy. I think that we spend it's kind of like, think about it like this, our car. We have our car, and if we go and we buy this brand new car and it's fantastic, and you never vacuum the inside and you never clean the exterior, at some point your car is going to break down, but your car will still drive. Even if the exterior doesn't look that great and your interior doesn't look that great, you can still drive your car. But it's not that optimal. You don't change the oil, you don't put windshield wiper fluid in it. And that's what I tell people: massages, dry needling, nutrition. Like, these are all things that make your car run better. And you need them because at some point in time, your car is going to fall apart without them. And so it's very important, especially in a rehab recovery phase, especially with the body's immune system working so hard to deal with whatever this is that's going on in the interior.
Yeah, and one of the things we preach, and it sounds like you do as well, is that it's a lot of behavioral and lifestyle change as much as the therapy and treatment itself that are so critical to get you the best possible outcome long term.
I totally agree with that as well. And I always tell people that if you're not ready to change your lifestyle, in regards to these types of things, you're not really ready to do things. Diets, I mean, they're not permanent. You have to change your lifestyle and be ready for that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But you got to do it.
All amazing stuff. Thank you, Rebecca. So I know you coach people all over the world. I'm sure there are people that are going to see this that are going to be interested in you. How do people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about you or contact you?
Well, I actually direct people right to my Facebook page. I have a Peak Center Alaska Facebook page for the coaching and the weight management stuff and the rehabilitation stuff. And it's very easy to find me there. And if you're looking for me as an athlete, you can find me at my Facebook page, Rebecca McKee, or the other page that I run, the Rebecca Beaker McKee, my big name there. And I have a website, but I don't keep it up to date as much because there's just too much individual stuff going on. The website's a little generalized, but if you want to find me, you can definitely find me there. Go ahead and drop me a note. I work with people all over the world. I've worked with people in South Korea. I've worked with people in Belgium, New Zealand, from beginners all the way to professional elite level athletes in many sports.
And it's a little bit of a different concept because you're working virtually for most of these people, right? You're not in the gym with them or next to them
Right.
on the bike, right? You're advising them from Alaska or wherever you might be with your racing and so forth, correct?
Right, exactly. And I do travel about quite a bit, and I do meet with a lot of clients in different places because it works out that we're all in the same place. But for the most part, it is a virtual relationship. But these days, with the ability to jump online and Skype or FaceTime on your phone or even talk on Facebook now, and the ability to text message, and also data from watches, data from bike meters, a lot of analysis. I spend a lot of time in my day just analyzing people's workouts, looking at things, going back and talking to them because every person that I work with is treated as an individual.
Well, keep up the tremendous work, and I certainly am appreciative of all the support you've given to us in our mission here, trying to develop these therapies and make them better and better over time. I hope people will reach out to you. Rebecca is a tremendous resource and obviously an authority, and we're so proud of you with all of your accomplishments over the past year. Congratulations again, Rebecca. I hope we can rope you back to do some more Zooms with us. I'd love to pick your brain on nutrition, some other training tips and tools that we can help other people with in the future.
Well, I would not be where I am without you guys, so I appreciate you very much, and I would absolutely love to do another session or 10, so you can find me for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. You know how to track down Rebecca if you want to. She's a great resource, as I mentioned. Thank you so much, Rebecca. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Bye.